Ladies and gentlemen, you know, here at the Dan Dawson Show, I'm going to go old school on this one. No fancy introduction, no cut line, no nothing. Because I figured, hey, let's just blow up the spot, shall we? So let's blow it up. Let's look at what we got here. So, the way Roe versus Wade got in was under the 14th Amendment, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Saying if you force a woman to carry a baby to full term, you're interfering with her life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Her pursuit of happiness. I say in today's age, when there's so many contraceptions involved, I had my daughter at 23. I decided I did not want to have another kid. And so that was a decision I made. My daughter was 2 months old. I went and got a vasectomy. If you don't want to have kids for whatever reason, then that's a decision you should make before you go sleeping around. I watched an actress get up on the steps of the Supreme Court and say, and this was last year or so, beginning of this year, if I wouldn't have my abortion, I would not be who I am. So you're equating taking a life because you had some success. Let's blow it up. Now, they hang on by this thin thread under the 14th Amendment of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yet, the Second Amendment, see, you didn't think this would come back to the Second Amendment, did you? But it has every effect on the Second Amendment, is written clearly. Shall not be infringed. Your right to own firearms. But oddly enough, these same people, see, I have several guns. Several. Probably in the John Wick territory of guns. That's how many guns I have. But also, I'm a competitive shooter and a firearms instructor. I like to have a lot of firearms so my customers can shoot different firearms. And it's written clearly. Yet, these same people, and none of my guns have ever taken a life. Not illegally. Not when I wasn't under contract. Anyway, they've never taken an innocent life. A life that has done nothing to no one. Yet, every time a woman walks into an abortion center, a life is being taken. But by the thinnest of threads, you can watch the woke and these liberals. We have to keep abortion rights going. And this decision coming down, Justice Roberts confirmed it today. Yeah, this decision is coming down. This is what's going to happen. Doesn't actually take away abortion rights. It leaves it up to the states. If you feel you have to have that many abortions, one, you need to check your personal life. Two, move to a blue state where they're going to make it legal. California, here in a year or so, you'll probably be able to abort the baby till it's fucking 17. Let's just be honest about it. Let's just be honest. Not 17 weeks, I mean 17 years. Let's just be honest. For all you Planned Parenthood supporters, I'm going to read you something here. I've done something a little different today. I'm going to do a different type of reading. I'm going to give you the source and everything. For all you Planned Parenthood supporters, I'll say this. If you want to call people racist because they support the Proud Boys who are led by a Cuban and have black members, you want to call anybody who associates with them racist? Let me read you your racist history there. This is from USA Today. This was written on July 23rd, 2020 by Christine Hawkins, opinion contributor. All across America, video of activists attacking statues plays on a loop while some political leaders voice their support for removing all reminders of people whose personal histories put them in a negative light. And asking for the U.S. Capitol to be cleansed of Confederate statues, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said they must go because their efforts were to achieve such a plainly racist end. End quote. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo said on NBC's Today Show that removing the statues is, quote, healthy expression, end quote, of priorities and values. For those identifying historical figures with racist roots who should be removed from public view because of their evil histories, Planned Parenthood's founder, Margaret Sanger, must join that list. In promoting birth control, she advanced a controversial, quote, Negro Project. Wrote in her autobiography about speaking to a Ku Klux Klan group and advocated for a eugenics approach to breeding for the gradual suppression, elimination, and eventual extinction of defective stocks, those human weeds which threaten the blooming of the finest flowers of American civilization. In a 1939 letter to Dr. C.J. Gamble, I wonder if this Procter & Gamble, if anybody knows, please comment below. Sanger urged him to get over his reluctance to hire a full-time Negro physician, as the colored Negroes can get closer to their own members and more or less lay their cards on the table, which means their ignorant superstitions and doubt. Like the abortion, and does that remind you of something? All these black preachers you're seeing now, the Joyanne Reeds, the Whoopi Goldbergs, the Don Lemons, were what they called house Negroes. They weren't field Negroes back in the day. That's still a big thing here in the South. And so those people, I allege, are house Negroes. See, they want to keep you on the plantation. They don't want you to run away from master. They want you to abort your baby. They want you to give up your guns. They want to let criminals free on your streets. Be very careful, people. Like the abortion lobby today, Sanger urged Dr. Gamble to enlist the help of spiritual leaders to justify their deadly work, writing, quote, we do not want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members, end quote. You see what she did there? And this is an old thing. The preacher in the black community is one of the worst if he's not speaking the truth. Now, don't get me wrong. You have some preachers out there. They'll speak and spit the truth, but that's nowadays. Back in the day, that wasn't the way it is. Or that wasn't the way it was. That's not what happened. The preacher was partly responsible for keeping the Negroes on the plantation, and he used the Bible to do it. Twisted the words of the Bible, but he used the Bible to do it. And now you're seeing, or what you saw was Margaret Sanger taking advantage of that. And to this day, Planned Parenthood takes advantage of that. Even though if you're thinking, and you actually read the Bible for yourself, which a lot of slaves back then couldn't read. The preacher was usually an educated man who could read. So that's why he had so much control and power over the population, because he would read the Bible to them. Even now, look, they still do that. Even though most black people, say 95%, can read the Bible for themselves. Even though with the way our education system is going, I don't know if 10 years from now, 95% of the people in the United States will be able to read. But they'll be able to find a dress that fits their son. So, but back to the point. And that spirit of racism continues today as more than 300 former and current employees of Planned Parenthood said recently in an open letter noting a toxic environment. Quote, Planned Parenthood was founded by a racist white woman. That is part of history that cannot be changed, end quote. They observed, writing, that the pattern of systemic racism, pay inequity, and lack of upward mobility for black staff continues. And why work there? Cultural icon Kanye West has made headlines with his recent statements on Planned Parenthood abortion vendors, which he said have been placed inside cities by white supremacists to do the devil's work. He's right about the locations of the businesses. This is so fascinating. The vast majority of the abortion vendors have set up shop in minority neighborhoods, which can be seen in the scare tactics available at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Here we go, CDC again with all their false information. Why do we even have them anymore? Really starting to wonder. Though they are only 13% of the female population, African Americans made up 38% of all abortions tracked in 2016. Think about how large a gap that is. Isn't that insane? In the 1970s, when the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision legalized abortion, polling showed that blacks were significantly less likely to favor abortions than whites. Yet in New York City, more black babies are aborted than born alive each year. Think about that. You know what that's called? That's called genocide. All these Roe versus Wade supporters, Planned Parenthood supporters, and don't get me wrong, I know Planned Parenthood also does good things. But this is something that has to stop. In the abortion industry think tank, the Guttmacher Institute notes that the abortion rate for black women is almost 5 times that for white women. It would seem that Sanger's vision of ending black lives has come to pass. Though to be accurate, she also endorsed ending Chinese preborn life as well. There's a lot here. Let me pick out the best parts. Okay, it's only a little bit more. Among those who advocate for the removal of statues, signs, and traces of racist ancestors, there is no balancing of good and bad deeds. It would be hypocritical to say that the racist attributes and eugenics policy preferences of Sanger should be ignored because it was a tactic to advance birth control that some consider a social good, the position of famed feminist Gloria Steinem, who had her own problems, did she not? But consider Sanger's own words in an article titled, "A Better Race Through Birth Control." She wrote, "Given birth control, the unfit will voluntarily eliminate their kind." Let me repeat that for you. The unfit will voluntarily eliminate their kind. Who do you think she's talking about? She's speaking at Klan rallies. She's not talking about white people. Black women have abortions at a far higher rate than white women. Just this week, Planned Parenthood of Greater New York announced it will remove Sanger's name from its Manhattan abortion vendor location because of her harmful connection to the eugenics movement. Why stop there? Sanger is honored in the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery and at Margaret Sanger Square in Manhattan, and a Margaret Sanger statue stands in the Old South Meeting House in Boston, which ironically enough is on the Freedom Trail commemorating the Revolutionary War. For those of you who don't know, the Freedom Trail was a gateway that Southern slaves used to get into the North to become freemen. So, how a woman who advocated for the selective breeding of her fellow citizens came to be memorialized with those who built a country is hard to understand and a mistake easy to address. So that article is exactly right, and even though it's from a couple of years ago, to me it still stands. You do understand that Hitler did the same thing. The exact same thing. Exactly. Baby was going to be born with a defect or wasn't absolutely Aryan, he wanted that baby aborted. Oh, that's very true. You don't believe me? You can go check out a few videos. That's exactly what happened, and I think it's common knowledge at this point, hopefully, if they're still teaching history in schools. So how can something that got in on such a thin thread be more constitutional than the Second Amendment, which is written, you can see the value our founding fathers placed on it, which is written in the Constitution, plain and clear for everybody to see. But oddly enough, it's these same people who don't want Dan to own an AR-15 because it might get stolen by some lunatic and may shoot somebody, rather than every time a woman walks into an abortion clinic, she's ending a life. There's a lot of questions you got to ask yourself what's going on. The main question I ask myself is that are we as a country at the point of no return? And now what you have, sorry, this video is going to be a little long. Now what you have is AOC, Bernie Sanders coming out saying, oh, we're going to do something congressional. We're going to codify a woman's right to have an abortion. Understand, the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade isn't saying abortions are all legal across the country. What it's saying is it's the state's decision. And we see this in all manner of things. States are actively rebelling against the federal government. Look, when Trump was president, they came out with sanctuary cities. San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle, New York, D.C., Portland. when Biden got in and started introducing all these new, and I think a lot of people have forgotten this, all these new Second Amendment laws, remember Governor Greg Abbott came out and said, hey, we're not doing that. And actually made it illegal in the state of Texas for a federal law enforcement agent to enforce any of these new gun control rules. Lots to think about, lots on the plate. Yeah, but we'll work through it, people. Let's keep talking about it. Like, subscribe, share, and as always, especially in these days and times, keep your powder dry and do what you got to do.